Good morning. Grand rising, peace, love, and prosperity. Funny thing about age is it's a matter of perception because it's a mental thing. Age is a number, literally. Age is nothing but a number. It's just a way to gauge how long you've been on this earth. It's just like the rings in a tree, but the age only proves how long it's been here. But the strength and the health and the integrity of the tree is not diminished because of its age. A tree, as it gets strong, it gets older, it's stronger, it strengthens. Well, with us, especially people in the black community that come from the ghetto and impoverished areas, we commonly refer to aging as getting old at a whole lot premature time than we should. And that as a result of being put into situations where you're forced to be acting like an adult sooner than you need to be. You're not mentally or emotionally or physically ready to take on those responsibilities, but due to the environment and the world that we were brought up in, we had no choice. We were forced into those roles in that situation. So my thing is simply as this: no longer will I celebrate not being dead, because that was the common theme. You're coming from a world where you're watching your teenage friends get slaughtered daily and all types of different ways of dying or being lost to the correctional facility or whatever the case may be. We've experienced some very highly traumatic, life-altering experiences that we were put in a position that we should cover it up or suppress it, show no signs of weakness, or life goes on. We come from this, so we built for this, and all of those narratives that are commonly connected with emotional and mental healing or understanding. So we don't get a pass for PTSD, post-traumatic anything, because we're black. So what? It's just what it is. Not only do we not get the sympathy from white America, we don't get it from each other, because if a father sees his son weak, you can't show no weaknesses, and it ain't even weak. It's really just exposing his emotions. We look at it as weak. You weak, man. Don't show no tears, don't show no fears, whatever. And we forced ourselves into a mature situation where we aging a lot sooner than we should be. And that reflects and shows in the way that we age, literally. Like, it starts with the mind, and your body will adjust and adapt accordingly. If mentally you think you're old, then your body is going to start acting old. And you're not taking care of yourself, you're not eating right, you're not training or working out or anything to that effect. You're just living the way that you've been taught to live from your parents and grandparents. Then you're just going to do just that. You're going to age early. But you're not old, and that's the crazy thing about it, because we think that once you're 30, you're old, Granted, yeah, from 12 to 25, you've done more than the average person will do in a lifetime. You've been in life-changing and life-threatening situations. You've experienced death on some type of level, some scale. You've lost someone, or someone who's lost someone. So death is just a part of it. You're numb to it. You've become conditioned to where you accept it. So you are stressed mentally, and you never have had any type of therapy or any type of communication or conversation about your mental state. It's all about whether you balling or not, whether you got bitches or not, whether you gangster, you shoot, you know what I'm saying, whatever. And I mean, no disrespect to any woman, but that's just the terminology that is synonymous with the topic that I'm talking about. Bitches and hoes and niggas and gangsters and thugs and all of that. And I'm by no means pointing any finger, because I have used and still at times use all of that rhetoric. I am no better than anyone else. I just have evolved enough to understand that you have to limit the amount of usage of those terms and derogative statements in reference to us dealing with ourselves, because when we keep tearing ourselves down, then they don't have a problem continuing the cycle of tearing us down when they're the ones that trained us how to tear ourselves down. But I say all of that to say, if you just take the simple time to look at an age chart, you know, from birth to 12, you're an adolescent and a child. You're a child and an adolescent. From 13 to 19, you're a teenager, right? And from 20 to 34, you are a young man. And the best time of your life, the most important time frame in your life is from 35 to 65. That's a 30-year time span. If you break all the rest of those down, none of them equate to 30 years. You have a 30-year time span to be a grown-ass man. Ain't nothing old about grown. You're not considered old or elderly. At least your benefits don't kick in until you're 65. So you ain't finna be telling me I'm old because I just turned 44 when I know where I am at 44 has absolutely nothing on where I was at 24. Like, I'm way stronger, a lot more wiser. If I don't say so myself, I feel I'm a lot more handsome because I take care of myself and I understand the importance and the value of what I put into my body is what I'm going to get out of my body, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, all that. When I wasn't thinking about that at 24. 24, I'm 100 miles and running. You know, I'm trying to be the biggest whatever I was doing at the time, and it was all bad. So now that I know what I know, it's foolish for us to continue to call each other old once we turn 30 or 40. You know, like that's just the end. Start counting down. That's a mindset. And if you continue that mindset, then you're going to continue a trend that is hurting us more than it is helping us. Yeah, it's a simple phrase. It's just a terminology, the way that we use it. And of course, we obviously aren't trying to down one another when we say it all the time. Of course, sometimes we are, but age is not something that is predicated on a number system. It's a mindset. It's a matter of how much do you put out from what you have learned over the years compared to what you are still making mistakes and doing. That's age right there. And when we realize that, then we'll stop crutching ourselves mentally by saying that we're old and then accepting it way too soon. Because when I saw a picture of that guy that's like 70-something years old or 60-something years old, and he looking like Lufa Negro, you ain't never finna hear me say I'm old. That's my hero right there. That man a vegan. He over 60, a vegan, and I will beat your ass. I'm telling you, I will put hands out on you. It is nothing. Will smack you and embarrass you in front of your old lady. And he's quote unquote old. That's a mindset. It's all in how you perceive life. If you perceive life in a manner that someone else has provided for you, then you're going to continue on in that direction, and you're going to live the life getting the results that someone else lived because you didn't challenge their reality or your own reality for that matter. You accepted someone else's reality. So I end all of this saying age is a mindset. And if you continue to call yourself old and do old people's things like don't use any energy, as little energy as possible, or you don't challenge yourself to continue to grow, you don't want to learn anymore, you feel like you can't learn anymore. Like, who does that? You can never be too old to learn something. You know, I remember when I was in my 20s or 30s, whenever the cell phone boom kicked in and as it evolved, I mean, like that right there is a prime example of the evolution of time and communication, as well as something that can age, but is not looked at in a negative way, because cell phones have aged. But would you rather have the old big bulky one that, you know, look like you got some shit on the side of your head, or you want the brand new iPhone 30 or whatever the newest iPhone is, which can do 1,000,000 times more than what the old one did? That's aging right there. That's evolution. That's what we do, especially as black people, because our DNA is so enriched with this DNA that has a survival instinct that we aren't even aware that that's what drives us. We don't even know that that is the motivation behind that will that we have that the average individual or human being does not possess. It's not just because of our history, how we overcame slavery. It's a whole lot of things that we overcame throughout world history as Africans, atrocities, things that the average race or human being couldn't begin to mentally. And I'm just talking mentally and psychologically. I ain't even talking about physically actually going through with the act. Just psychologically can't even begin to fathom how to deal with these situations. And you can just look it up in your history. It's not hidden anymore. It's 2018, about to be 2019. Information is a choice. Knowledge is a choice at this point. And if you choose to stay in the dark and not try to educate yourself because you think you're too old, you're fooling yourself. And you're falling victim to a recurring theme and cycle that is crutching us as black people mentally because we're thinking that we're old well before we are. So I say all of that to say, change your mindset and it'll change your reality. Until you do that, then I guess you are old at 30. But me personally, shit, I ain't nowhere near old, partner. I'm better.